listening to the Lone Star Plate Podcast with your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong.
How's your day going, man?
Oh, just starting.
Oh, right.
I've got a debate. I'm way behind on my schedule this month, and I've got a debate on Saturday that I haven't begun writing yet.
Oh no, what's that about?
Oh, which is better for society, Islam or atheism?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about taking the angle at well, you may as well just ask which is better for society, the freedom to do what we want, or to be forced in an imposition of believe the lies we tell you and follow the norms we give you and take all your freedoms away, because that's what religion always does.
Yeah, that's an interesting debate, right? Because one is like a belief in nothing, and the other is a hard belief in something.
A belief in nothing?
Well, atheism, right? You just know
is not a belief.
Is not a belief. Correct.
Right.
Not a belief.
That's very different than
a belief in nothing. Correct. You're right. I apologize. I didn't mean it like that, but you know what I meant. So thank you for correcting me. Yes, that is what I meant.
The reason I didn't identify as an atheist when I was a child was because I was lied to and told that atheism was a belief in nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That's actually a great point. Yeah, good distinction. No, you're right. I misspoke. I definitely didn't mean it that way. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. It's nothing. It's just...
The answer to the question, do you believe God, or this is the God I believe in, and I say I don't believe you.
Yeah, exactly. It's such an odd conversation sometimes. Even talking about something that isn't a belief can even someone as me who has that quote unquote belief or non-belief, whatever you want to call it. I still even get confused on how to say it, right? Like how I word it to people sometimes, which is odd, right? It's such an odd, I don't know. It's an odd non-belief to have, I guess. I wish it didn't have a word, to be frank. I wish it didn't have a word, because it seems odd that it has a word and a definition if it's nothing. Does that make sense? I don't know. Am I off on that?
I missed something in that entirely.
Atheism, why does atheism even exist as a word? Like, why do we define it if it's literally nothing? Like a belief, not a belief in nothing, but it's nothing. It's just like...
Well, let's look at the word theism, right?
Okay.
Theism is the assumption and imposed belief that a God exists, and everywhere culturally, politicians and theologians. Are we recording already? Because this is good.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm already recording. Yeah.
Historically, politicians and theologians have been terribly concerned with the question, do you believe in our God? And that was forced upon you, that you must believe in our God. And it's not the thing that would exist if there really was a God. You wouldn't have theism if there really was a God, because you wouldn't have a bunch of different religions all conflicting with each other, certainly not going to war against each other, and absolutely not with both of them claiming that their God is on their side, right? There would be one God. Everybody would know who that God is, and you wouldn't have to believe it at all, because faith is make-believe. It's pretending that there's a God. I mean, it's not... I've often said that some people think that having a relationship with Lord Krishna or with Jesus is like having a magic imaginary friend. No, it's not like that. That's exactly what it is. And atheism means that all of these other different groups, they're playing different games of pretend, and some of them have different lingo, and some of them have different costumes, and sometimes it's like a combination or a contrast between whether you like Star Wars or Star Trek. But what if you don't like science fiction at all? What if you're not playing any kind of pretend game? What if you just, no, thank you, I'm just going to be in reality. I don't need pretend. That's atheism. I'm not buying anybody's bullshit. I'm not walking around. I'm not the pretender.
Correct.
So,
sort of just like the
not pretender.
Not pretending. Okay, I actually like that. I never heard it put that way. I mean, essentially, we're all born atheist, right? And then we're either influenced or not, or affected by that influence, I should say, or not.
Yeah,
the
debate I've got this weekend is so confusing because which is better for society. And you notice when you get a religious believer, you don't compare theism in general to atheism. No, it's always their particular religion.
Correct.
Let's just pretend that all of the other religions don't exist.
Correct. That's a great.
We can't even think about all those other religions.
Yeah.
But why would we have a religion at all? Certainly if there was really a God, we wouldn't have all of these. And so when they talk about which is better for society, Islam or atheism, well, you have to look at theism versus atheism. And theism is always an imposition. It's always a denial of human rights. It's always believing things that are not evidently true and having those beliefs forced upon you. But then when you get into Islam now, and you've got a whole other particular set that is especially egregious to a lot of people.
Sure.
I'm just getting fired up for the thing I haven't written yet, but that's a flavor for how it's going to go when I do write it.
Absolutely. Well, hey, maybe this will give you some ideas for it.
Yeah. I think it did, because I didn't know what to say before, and now I definitely do. I don't know if I actually need to write. I
feel like you've done so much of these. Yeah, I feel like honestly, if there's anyone that could do it, it's you. Let's be real. You've got enough information up here to go off for hours, I would imagine, without ever having to touch a note or anything, for sure. So, well, no, that's exciting. I'm curious what you think about this. So I have a really good friend of mine, Dave, who is, he would categorize himself as not religious, but a believer, a Christian believer, spiritual, but he doesn't follow the mainstream Christian narrative. He has a lot of problems with things are up. He's very much, you live your life, I live mine. That's
I used to call myself that too, and I think now it's a code word for I don't care. I don't do my homework. I don't study this. I'm not even interested in the topic.
Sure, I just
don't want to be bothered.
That could be it too.
Go away and leave me alone. I'm.
That's pretty much it. Look, let me be me. This is what I believe. If it's ridiculous or not, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not out here saying, give me money. This is my thing. And I'm like, cool, no problem. We have debates twice, 2-3 times a week, but we're friends, right? We've been friends for close to 30 years. So there's a strong bond there to be able to have these conversations. But something always tells me that's interesting. I'm curious your thought about it is, he's like, well, what if just all the gods are really it's the same God, right? And everyone just misinterpreted it the wrong way. I don't know. What do you think of that
that's
comment?
An interesting one, because that's come up to me. That was one of the first arguments I remember, one of the first apologetics I remember dealing with when I was a kid. And the interesting thing was that it's dealing with comparative religions, which we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So the notion that all the different religions are like, you got 5 different guys, blind guys, and they are all examining an elephant. One has his trunk, one has a tusk, one has a leg, one has a tail, and they're all feeling that part of the elephant, and they're going to try to describe what the elephant is. Well, what that analogy then is an admission that they're all wrong. If there was a God, every one of those religions is wrong.
Yeah.
So why do we have religion? Why do we identify with a specific religion? Why not say, okay, well, maybe the Christians got some things right, and maybe the Muslims and maybe the Hindus got maybe a bunch of things right. But you can't do that, because a religion means that you're restricted just to this blasphemy, heresy, and apostasy have always been treated as, historically, as capital crimes worthy of the death penalty. So you can't have independent thought. You can't examine these things any different way than the way we tell you. If you deviate from what we tell you to believe, that's heresy. Yet if you tell us you don't believe at all, that's blasphemy or apostasy, depending on how you say it. And we'll kill you either way.
Sure. Yeah. I can't argue with that. That's the sad part about it. What do you think about all this talk? Speaking of that sort of intense, right? Sort of draw line in the sand. What do you think of all this talk of all these politicians, especially on the right? I think it's only been on the right who have been saying, like, I'm sick of all this separation of church and state. That's been a real conversation that's been coming up a lot on the right politically. I'm curious what you think of that. That scares the hell out of me to hear that.
That's what I've been dealing with throughout the entire length of my activism. When I started doing this roundabout Y2K, it was because Republicans, Christian conservatives, were determined to erode the separation of church and state. They wanted to specifically, and they were stating upfront and outright that they wanted to establish a theocracy. And the first group that I was talking with got me more charged up than other groups probably would have, because they were Reconstructionists, and they were bragging about how many judges and senators and school board members and such they had already elected by voting as a block, where all their ministers would get on the phone with other ministers. So then they would just tell their congregations how to vote. So the whole congregation votes exactly the same way, everybody. And that's what churches have been doing, right? I mean, it's illegal, but it's unconstitutional, but that's what they did.
Yeah.
So, and why are they tax exempt? They're supposed to be tax exempt for the reason that they won't do that, but they are doing that.
Correct.
So I think that religions not only should be taxed, I think they should be fined as fraudulent, because they all are.
Yeah,
and
I definitely agree with the tax
me
thing.
that they wanted to establish a theocracy to overturn our democratic republic, throw away the Constitution, and establish a theocracy that would enforce Levitical law.
Jesus.
Can you imagine?
Levitical. No, I honestly, I don't even think most, honestly, Christians or what would even want that, right? I really don't think most people would ever want that, even if you're a believer. I can't see how you would. Yeah, that's scary. And just to hear some of these, we're pretty popular on the right. You know, they're pretty Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, just some different whatever senators and Congress people saying, yeah, man, this separation of church and state is really whatever. And even the right-wing influencers starting to spread this, plant the seeds of, well, the founders didn't really mean separation of church, right? They're just trying to slowly erode what our idea of that is, so that it's easier to potentially take away from us, which is scary.
When I started my activism, it was against the Texas Board of Education, and their thing was not just their attacks on science, by refusing to teach evolution or misrepresenting evolution. It was worse than that. It was also what they were doing in sex education and in social studies. Actually, the most damage was being done in social studies, where they had eliminated any non-white role models, for example. So they made it out to look like everybody that did anything important was a Christian man, a white Christian man, right? Yeah. And that's that. Wow. There was nobody else. Wow. So they at one point they were trying to remove references to Thomas Jefferson and replace him with Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy, who used the Bible to justify slavery. And some of these people were in favor of that sort of thing. I've heard Republicans advocate for the reestablishment of slavery. No shit.
Holy Jesus Christ!
Yeah, it was on the ballot this year.
Wow. I had not
so there were
heard that.
people voting for slavery this year.
What the fuck?
You talk about going backwards.
Yes, going backwards.
Everything. Religion has always been an obstacle or an impediment or a reverse of every progress we've ever made in any application that it has ever touched.
Absolutely. So it's authoritarian, right? Like even this right-wing
authoritarian by design. Right? Yes,
by design it is. Exactly. And we fight so much against that. It's such an odd thing. Like, how do you balance that in your heart and say, well, I'm an American, God bless America? Like, what? I don't, it doesn't make sense to me, but right.
What does it even mean to be in America when you
you're right.
Freedom, right?
Yeah.
At least I know I'm free, but you're advocating against your own freedom.
Correct.
Because the Republican, conservative, Christian right is always trying to take rights away.
Right.
Recently, they took away Roe versus Wade, right? So that was a woman's right to choose. They've always been, since the 50s, they've been trying to minimize voting rights. They've been trying to make it more and more difficult, especially for minorities and such, to vote. They want to deprive rights. They don't want gay marriage rights. They want special privilege. They want, if you declare yourself to be a Christian, you get the T-shirt, you get the medallion, you get the special coffee mug, you get the poster on the wall, all of these things that say Christian, just like you would for the, your favorite sports team, because that's all a religion is to these people. It's the costume that you wear, right? And now you can you can put yourself in this little collective because you declare yourself this. Well, now you got special privileges. You've joined the club, and that's all the fuck it is. It has nothing to do with actual factual truth or understanding of anything.
Absolutely. What do you think about Kanye West's latest comments about coming out after the Jewish community?
I pay as little attention to Kanye West as humanly possible. I saw something in my news feed this morning that was like a headline that said Kanye West was considered one of the greatest musicians of the modern day. I have been informed that I have in fact heard one of his songs, Gold Digger.
Gold Digger, yeah.
Yeah. And the only thing I liked about that song was Jamie Foxx's part.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Oh,
I'm not in tune to music or movies or any of the modern stuff anymore. I mean, all my pop culture references are from back when I had the time to watch TV and listen to the radio. I don't anymore, and I haven't for many years. I mean, most movies go right by without my knowledge.
Sure.
I mean, all I do is study.
Yeah. Damn. That's it. You got to take a time to watch a movie here or there, something like
once in a while.
Passion of the Christ, a yearly watching Passion of the Christ.
Yeah. Well, I saw Free Guy.
Free Guy was great. That wasn't bad.
I saw that.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
I don't take a lot of time to watch movies. And I saw some other thing. I saw some other thing where Idris Elba was a genie. And I don't know, the commercial looked like it might be interesting. And so
I saw that. I saw that movie. Yeah, it was, which is sad because it's, what's that guy's name? The guy that did Mad Max. The director. It's the same guy.
I went in with high expectations. It looked like it had a big budget. I thought the writing was going to mean that there was going to be some great plot twist, that the question would be something that that Daniel Dennett had spent an hour on a mountaintop, or excuse me, a year on a mountaintop to figure out the question that they're going to write into this, and it's going to be really good, right? No. Utter tosh.
Yeah. It was like, what was it called? 3,000 years, something like that, right?
That, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the only time. I don't know if I saw Free Guy this year or if I saw it last year, but it was the only time I saw a movie this year, I think, and it was not even worth seeing.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Listen, content is getting oversaturated. There's so much of it. It's hard to, wrestle through and find the good stuff that's out there. There is some good stuff that's out there, but yeah, it is. And
I'd like to see something that isn't a superhero.
Yeah, of course. Without a doubt.
I mean, look at every movie. Free Guy, okay. We're still talking superheroes.
Pretty much.
And the one with Idris Elba, it has a genie, another superhero. Yeah. They're all that way. This is where our mythology comes from, right? It's everybody's a goddamn superhero.
Yeah, absolutely. That's funny because they do like to put these godly figures in these superhero, make it about this, right? These gods. Mythologies. Yeah, that is interesting, right? That is kind of an interesting take on it. They don't shy away from that, but they're also not showing it. They also kind of show them evil in a lot of ways in these movies, as wanting to take over or mistreat, right? I'm thinking of the last Thor that just came out. For anybody listening or watching that watched that was about that. It was about the gods mistreating and them wanting to fight back against them. So I don't know if there's anything from the writers, subconsciously putting this stuff in, or or whatever.
It's hard for me to imagine a movie that wasn't about a superhero, and it was one. It just for that category first. It's not about a superhero. Hard to imagine that. And two, that was good. Now, I liked Free Guy. I thought that was an interesting take. Sure. And Ryan Reynolds is kind of super saturated into everything.
Yeah,
it's like,
for sure.
Can you have a movie that doesn't have him or Dwayne Johnson in it?
Yeah. So speaking of, right, they're about movies right now.
Yeah, and how many of those does he play a superhero?
Yeah, exactly. He's literally playing Black Adam right now in the theaters. That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And so when have we seen a movie that was good?
They're tough. Gosh, I'm trying to think of a movie that I saw recently that was good, and I swear there was one. That's sad that I can't really just name it off the top of my head. To be honest with you,
yeah,
I can't name it off the top of my head.
That Free Guy was good. Was what I'm saying is that it was an original kind of a concept.
Yeah, totally.
For a film, the way, at least the way they portrayed it, because we've done robots getting sentience and computers with brains before, like over and over and over again. But this was kind of a fresh take, and one of the things that I found interesting about it was how happy he was before he knew anything. And so Correct. People talk about atheists aren't as happy as believers are. And this has been a comment that people have been saying for centuries.
I get it all the time. Absolutely.
So I don't remember who said it, but somebody said that the point of whether a believer is happier than an atheist is no more to the point than that a drunk is happier than a sober person.
Correct.
Something like that. So the Ryan Reynolds character, who's a non-player character in a video game, but he doesn't know that, is blissfully happy every day of his life until he starts figuring out things, and then he's not happy. But then he sort of is. He's not happy, and then he gets charged up, and he's excited, and then he's depressed because the more so some things you find out are not things you want to know. Yeah. And now he's depressed, but then he gets charged up again. So he accepts his reality, and now he's embraced it, and now he's good. Okay, I'm down with that. There was a lot of things in that movie that I thought would be usable in my videos. Like you often hear that God doesn't send you to hell. You send yourself to hell. And you have free will, right? God gave you free will to believe in him or not. Gave you absolutely no evidence at all, and is going to kill you or do fate worse than death. He's going to torture you mercilessly, savagely, forever if you don't believe absolute bullshit for no good reason. And so that was illustrated in that movie when this girl pulls out a gun and sticks it to his head and says, "Oh no, the choice is totally yours."
Yeah. Yes.
And everybody in the audience knows,
no,
it's fucking not. You put a gun to his head. He doesn't have a choice.
Correct. I always bring up this analogy. And honestly, you may have told me this analogy on one of our earlier podcasts, but I still use it in conversation, where it's like this idea that there's a guy on a horse in the desert. He's out of water, dying. A man comes up with water saying, "I'll give you some. All you got to do is suck my dick and you can have the water." Does he really have a choice? Right? That to me is what God's choice is to you, right? It's like, love me or go to hell. Well, what kind of choice is that? That's not really a choice, right? It's not a choice at all.
And these are all things that we know.
Sorry to be so graphic on that analogy.
We've seen exactly that scene play out in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Which one?
Exactly
is that Django?
Except it wasn't in the desert with water. It was in the snow, and the guy's got a jacket. But I mean, it's.
Oh yeah. I know what you mean. Yes. And Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's not a choice. It's not. I bring that up all the time even when my friend Dave is like, I'm like, dude, there's no choice. God is not giving you a choice to believe in him or not. It's not from love. There's no love coming from that. What kind of love is that? What if your father came to you and said, either love me or I kill you?
Yeah.
What kind of love? That's not love. What your dad should say, well, if you love me, hopefully cool. If not, I'll earn your love over time. That would be better, right? Instead of, hey, this is it. I just don't even know why. It's almost a power trip from God, right? Like, it's not a choice, and I'm going to make you choose me, right? Like, it's this weird thing. If he was a really loving God, he'd say, I'd really want them to choose on their own. I would say there's two heavens, one with me and one without me. Which one do you want? Right? Then you're going to get people that would love you as a real God, right? Not that I hope that there's a God, but
if God really existed, we wouldn't have to have faith.
I agree. Absolutely.
Faith
There'd
is
be no
not
question.
a path to truth. Certainly a God that actually existed would know that.
Yeah, I agree.
Any being worthy of worship would not want to be worshipped, but I mean, it would be even more petty if the God demands that you believe in this particular version of God and not that other version of God. Anybody who believes in that other version of God is going to be punished forever. And everybody in that culture thinks they're being godly. They've sacrificed all that they have to devote their lives to God, just the wrong version of God, but they don't know that that's the wrong version, because you're in the right version. You're dedicating your life to God, and so you know that when you die, you're going to be vindicated and they're going to be damned, until you die and you realize, oh, the Muslims were right. Well, fuck me. And now I'm going to hell because I said that Jesus was the Son of God, and that is forbidden in the Quran.
Correct. Yeah.
So much for Pascal's wager, right?
Exactly. Which is bullshit anyway. You can't rely on Pascal's wager anyway, because, right, God would be like, well, you can't use me as an insurance, like ticket when you want to. Like, that's not fair, So yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. No, that's it. I was just gonna say it all doesn't make any sense, and I just don't understand why it's so wrong to fall on the belief of I don't know, and I'm okay with not knowing. I just don't understand why that's such a bad thing.
We have the honesty to admit what we don't know. And faith is pretending to know what you don't know. And the reality is that the faith is also a willful ignorance. So it has more to do with what they won't know. Because you can't have a rational, philosophical, scientific conversation with people who have already blotted out. They've already decided in advance. Doesn't matter what evidence may ever come to rise, I'm not going to accept it. Well, there was that one guy on the movie, I think it was called Questioning Darwin, who said that if he found someplace in the Bible that said that 2 + 2 = 5, he wouldn't question it because it's in the Bible.
It's
he
in the
believe
Bible.
It.
Wow.
Right, and that's it. So you only have absolute proof in mathematics. So here you have proof that you're wrong, but no amount of proof will ever change your mind. It's the height of unreasonable, right? And this is what's celebrated as a virtue. It's virtuous to believe impossible nonsense for no good reason, and it's virtuous to be completely unreasonable where that is concerned. That's insanity. And to impose that onto other people, you have to believe what I tell you exactly the way I tell you. And if you deviate from what I tell you, then we're going to impose harsh punishments on you, because God doesn't punish you in the afterlife. No, his self-appointed representatives punish you today.
Yeah. And later too, just FYI, you get it now and later, just so you know, it's coming the whole time.
You're always hit with that threat, but you're going to have to live through what we do to you today.
Correct.
We're going to throw you off a building first.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you'll go to hell.
Yeah, and then you'll go to hell. Exactly. Just eternal damnation. Again, what choice is this? It's a strictly occult. I honestly wish more people would like my friend Dave, because he's very, again, this is what I believe. I live my life. I don't want to make laws. His famous quote, which I like a lot, is you can't govern morality. So you can't make laws about morality, right? He may not believe in abortion. He may think it's murder, but he would never vote for a law that says you can't get it. And that's why I appreciate him. And I just wish more people were like him in that sense, Well,
I wouldn't
just very open to that.
I wouldn't package it as governing morality, because there are many issues that are not.
I guess we do it with murder. That's true.
Come down to, for abortions, there are issues that are not moral issues.
That's true. Medical,
where the abortion is the thing, morally would be the thing to do.
Sure.
10-year-old girl gets raped. She's pregnant. The fetus is shown to be, she was raped by her AIDS-infected father. The fetus is shown not to have a brain, right? And so they know that this thing is going to die within days of birth, and that there's nothing can ever get. It's human by its genetics, but not by any other sense. There's nothing human about a brainless body, except if you're Louis Gilbert. If you're on the Republican Senate, then you can be a brainless body. But the moral thing to do would be to not force that small child who's never even developed hips. Don't force that child to go through an entire term pregnancy for something that can't even live.
Correct.
For something you can't even adopt out. I mean, and why would you want to allow a life, something that's doomed to death, that's already infected, or that is just the product of a criminal mind, which means you're reproducing that criminal mind, right? I mean, dog breeders would destroy whole lots of puppies because they're not exactly what they want, right? They consider themselves more of the killing puppies. But we're talking about something that it doesn't even qualify as a baby yet. Where we're talking about a wad of cells that has a genetic signature that says, okay, well, this is not going to go well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the argument to me makes no sense to prevent other people from getting an abortion. I just don't get it. If you don't want to do it,
there's
fine,
other logistics too. I mean, because if you're going to involve a magistrate in any fucking thing, I mean, if you're going to do an abortion, it needs to be expedient. The sooner it's done, the better for everybody. The better for the fetus. The better for everybody. The sooner that it can be done. You want to involve an unnecessary third party that now needs an appointment and a review and an explanation and a judgment.
Absolutely. Yes.
Fuck.
Ridiculous.
So you can't have, you can't involve the government in what must needs be a private decision between a girl and her doctor.
I agree. No, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. The people fighting against that makes no sense to me. Again, this idea that, first of all, I don't like the language that's used, right? Pro-life and pro-choice. No, it's pro-choice and anti-choice. We're all pro-life. What the fuck does that mean? I've never liked that terminology, and the Republicans do a good job of marketing that and making it seem like we're about life, you're about death. No, not at all. First of all, for Republicans or anybody who supports people not having abortion, it's about life, we support life. Okay, then why haven't you adopted 12 kids? Why aren't we out taking care of social services and all these programs for people if we care about life so much?
Why did bullshit. You pay for 2 abortions for 2 of your mistresses?
Yeah, exactly. Ask Herschel Walker, right? Like, oh, no more babies. And then another one comes out, right? Like, yes, exactly. Yeah. The hypocrisy there. It's only not good till you need one.
Yeah.
Till your daughter needs one, or
we
your
had
sister.
Another senator. Yeah. I was in Scotland. I was on a train in Scotland, and I was listening to these Scottish people making fun of Americans. So I don't want to say a word because I don't want anyone to recognize my accent.
Yeah.
As they're making fun of this Republican senator who is against abortions until it is found out that he paid to get his mistress an abortion because he didn't want his wife to find out. So pinnacle of hypocrisy, right? Oh, and you're anti-gay. You think that gays should be imprisoned or banished from the country or whatever, and then you're caught with a rent-a-boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's just disgusting. It's all about taking away other people's rights. It's about assuming privilege over other people and imposing edicts and control over other people, and the most private things. You're invading their mind. You're controlling what they can think, what they can believe, right? Free thought is one of the most fundamental of all human rights. The right to think or believe whatever you do for whatever reason makes sense to you, or not to believe that. If it doesn't make sense, you're free to say, hey, that doesn't make sense to me. But in some places in the world, if you say that, prison or death.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. Now, to be clear, I want to make sure that I'm, I like to, I'm not really into politics as far as like, I just hate politics all the way around. I don't really like the right or the left, to be honest with you. I just don't like politics. It all seems like they're just trying to, right? There's just tribalism and
it
whatever.
Is tribalism. And the first thing to look at is it's not a left versus right thing, because bell curve, most of us are down here. Okay,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
in the opposing view, you're either on the far right or you're on the far left.
Yeah.
But there's very few people, there's very few people in either of those positions.
I agree.
Most of us are actually down here, right?
Yeah.
Bell curve.
Sure.
So
sure.
I don't look at it. Most of the people on the left are very close to the center.
Sure. Yeah. I honestly don't even like to look at it left or right. I just tell people, look, if you want to know what I think about something, ask me specifically. Because I don't, you know what I mean? Ask me specifically.
That's a much better approach. And another thing that people don't see is that the bigger issue isn't even the left or right axis. It's the perpendicular axis between authoritarianism and libertarianism, or libertarian in this case is not to be confused with the Libertarian Party, which is exclusively right wing. Libertarianism is literally anti-authoritarianism, meaning
yes, okay,
people have rights, and authoritarianism means you do as we say.
Correct.
And unfortunately,
that's coming out on the right now too. People are saying that. I saw a very prominent right-wing influencer just use the word. I want an authoritarian. That's who we need to force our Christian law onto everyone. If they won't do it, we're going to force it on them. I was like, did he just say this out loud? Like, holy shit, they're just saying it now. I was like, God damn, are you kidding me?
I saw a young earth creationist evangelical say that if he had dictatorial power, he would force everyone. He wouldn't just preserve your right to carry arms. He would force everyone to carry a gun.
Jesus Christ. First of all, that's the dumbest thing ever, right? Yeah.
It's forced conformity. It's the imposition.
Yeah.
That's what authoritarianism. And so these are the people, these are the very same people who think they're defending freedom.
Correct.
They're actually
I'll force the freedom on you.
They're all dumb as a bunch of stumps. They're attacking their own liberty.
Correct. Yeah.
And just think about it. If somebody reacts to me calling Republicans stupid, y'all elected the Jewish space laser lady.
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, absolutely.
Louis Gohmert.
Both nutballs.
Breathing fish in a suit.
That guy's a nutball. Absolutely.
Yeah,
he
and
is
you reelected him. Ted Cruz.
Jesus Christ. Yes, I got to do a whole podcast on Ted Cruz, that idiot.
And when people say both sides are just as bad, I'm like, we go through a list of dozens of Republican bad guys. And can you find me anybody on the Democratic or independent side, any non-Republican? You can find me anybody that is as bad as most of the people on the Republican side. Pick out any of them. Find me a Democrat that is as bad as this one or this one or this one or this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it to you there. That's kind of a good point. I will say, as far as representatives go, there's definitely a lot more Looney Tunes, for sure, on the right, 100%. The only thing, what bothers me about the left is this idea that there's becoming this sort of like moral superiority, right? That used to be only on the right, but I'm seeing it on the left. And that's bothering me a little bit, right? This idea that, well, we do the right thing. You don't know the right thing. You're canceled. Now I'm not trying to take that cancel culture is ruining everything. I don't believe that either. I'm not saying that either.
I'm not down with that myself, by the way. I mean, I'm unapologetically leftist.
Sure.
But I've said many times on stage that, I don't agree with everybody about anything.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not, nobody
good way to put it.
Nobody's going to agree with anybody about everything.
I agree.
That just doesn't happen. Yeah. So
unless you love Trump,
ally with somebody where we have a common enemy and a common goal and a common interest. But that doesn't mean we don't also have disputes.
Sure.
Significant.
Of course.
Compartmentalize, deal with what you'll prioritize is probably a better way to put that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was having dinner with a Muslim who was managing somebody that I was debating. Now that the guy I was debating, he's just a scam and a fraud, professional liar. So, but his manager and I were having a more meaningful conversation. He was concerned about impositions on religious freedom from the Republican right. Now he's a Muslim. This was right when they passed, when they're arguing for the Muslim ban and all of that sort of thing, and they're calling it the Muslim ban. Both sides. Trump called it a Muslim ban, while his advocates are saying it's not a Muslim ban, and then Trump says yes, it's a Muslim ban.
Early 2020, right? I believe
it was earlier than that, but he and this guy and I, we're arguing, and I said, you and I have these religious differences, and we will certainly argue that. But on this other matter, this political matter, atheists are the strongest supporters of freedom of religion. And that means that I will disagree with your religion, but you have the right to hold that religion, and I am your champion to defend that right.
Yeah, I like that.
So again, prioritize, put things in their proper place.
Sure. Yeah, couldn't agree with that more. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, one of the things about the left that I often hear is that, we're supposed to be apologists for Islam. And I get criticism often, which is, I think, strange that I would get it. I got it yesterday. I got it today. Why are you always bashing Christians? How come you're afraid to bash Muslims? Why don't you debate Muslims? I'm like, I have a debate with a Muslim this weekend. I've had debates with Muslims in the past. I did a 3.5-year-long video series with blog articles associated with it on An Infidel Reads the Quran. My third book will be An Infidel Reads the Quran. I'm bashing Islam as much as any other atheist activist out there.
Sure.
So why are people saying, well, why am I afraid? I went to Dubai and argued against
what
Islam.
More? What more do you got to do? Yeah, I don't know.
And people think I'm afraid.
What are there any religions?
I'm a Muslim apologist or something.
Are there any religions leaders that you haven't debated that you've wanted to?
Well, I mean, there's shit tons of religions, so I'd never be able to get to everybody.
Sure.
And
I don't know if there was like a wish list or something.
I debated a Hindu a couple years ago, and other Hindus were complaining that guy was bhakti. He wasn't a Vaishnavite, or he wasn't a Brahmin, or whatever. So I'm debating what they were considering a lunatic fringe.
Okay, I see.
So it's like if you gather up in the Christian world, if you were to gather the great minds that represent Christianity from the philosophical superiority that they want to imagine that they have, and my debate challenger is Kent Hovind. So the
guy
Christians
from
would feel cheated.
That's the ARC guy, right? Or
What's
no?
That?
Is that the ARC guy?
No. He even worse.
Okay.
Even worse. He's a small-time carnival barker, just a convicted fraud. Yeah. So and that's really all he is. He's a professional liar and a convicted fraud, and he's an utter idiot. And most Christians would be embarrassed if we have an atheist arguing against Christianity, and they say, "Well, who is he debating? Is it William Lane Craig? Is it No, it's Kent Hovind." Oh, fuck me.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah, that's well, I was going to ask.
It's like William Lane Craig was on CNN or something like that. He's on some big news show, and they wanted to pit him against an atheist. And so whoever's working at the show at the time, and this was several years ago, just Googled atheists, and I guess they just Googled whoever was prominent on YouTube at the moment, and they happened to get some YouTuber who never represented atheism at all. He was just an extreme shock jock guy, but he had a big channel at the time.
Yeah.
I don't think he does anymore, but he had a big channel at the time. And so they put him, and we're all thinking, oh my word.
He's represented
by this guy.
Yeah.
whose most famous video is when he shoved a banana up his own ass. That
Oh, Banana Man representing us. Great. Oh,
could
great.
it be that William Lane Craig goes up against anybody that we like in our group, anybody that actually represents our views, anybody that knows that has done the background information and can present a valid argument, any of our qualified debaters? No.
I mean, that's what I was going to ask, is how the debates get set up. That's what I was asking. Like how, is it a mixture of things of in these debates, just, people setting it up? I mean, how do these debates get set up?
Well, I was working with somebody yesterday on that. He wants to bring me to Alabama to talk to people in a church. He wants to reach the church audiences in Alabama because he knows that they're given misinformation every day, all week long, every month, every year. They're constantly misled. They're constantly lied to, and nobody has a proper education. So he wanted to set up where I could go and give a lecture on evolution in a church, or on atheism in a church.
Wow.
What you may be very progressive, especially for Alabama, but churches are all about make believe. They don't want to hear the other side. They don't care what the truth is. They're not about understanding. They're about pseudo superiority and pretending that they're better than everyone else. So the only way that you're ever going to get somebody like me to speak in a church is if they've got their guy planted right next to me to try and counter everything I say.
Yeah.
And it's always got to be a live performance where he can call up, where he can make claims about scientific papers and what he thinks they say. If it was a written debate, I'd have a chance to read those papers, and invariably when we do that, I can always point out that, hey, the paper you cited doesn't actually say what you said it did. It actually says quite the opposite of what you just said. Or you quote mined a single sentence that after the comma completely changes, but you cut it off at the comma.
Sure.
Because you knew that was going to happen. Because religion is inherently dishonest. Faith is the most dishonest position it is possible to have, because you're assuming things that are not evidently true. You're assuming them without reason. You're being completely convinced based only on an erroneous assumption of authority, and then you're refusing to ever accept correction, that you will never change your mind no matter how much proof there is. How dishonest is that? So the only way that you're going to get me to speak in a church in Alabama is if it's in the format of a live debate. That's it. So the only thing I can do to counter the lies that these people have been fed every day of their lives is to get my 5-minute presentation, or maybe 15 if I'm lucky. I get a 15-minute presentation, which will be immediately undermined with a bullshit story, where if you had a moment to check the facts, you're going to realize he's completely full of shit and everything he just said is wrong. But the truth doesn't matter to these people. It doesn't matter to religion at all.
Yeah.
If the truth mattered, they would be dispassionate. There are people who are motivated by emotion. Lies are emotive. So if you are emotionally motivated, you are going to be duped by lies. If the truth is all that matters to you, and you don't want to be fooled into believing anything that isn't evidently to you, and you're tentative even about the things you do believe, well, then you're going to be very dispassionate about that. You're going to be very critical. And the moment that I find, you don't have to disprove something, the believers always want, you can't disprove God. I don't need to. You don't have any support for it. Same thing with me. You don't have to disprove my position. It's enough to realize that I was basing a belief on a piece of information that turned out to be erroneous. So that support isn't there. I've already stopped believing that. If the support isn't there, it all comes down to, is it supported or is it not? It's much like going to a court trial. They can declare you guilty, but they can't declare you innocent. The best they can do is declare you not guilty.
Interesting.
So in science,
okay, yeah.
Not supported is the same thing effectively as there's nothing there. There's no substance to the allegation.
Yes.
So
Okay, I
not
see.
supported means there's nothing to even consider. Come back when you can make a case.
Has anyone ever told you anything in a debate that, made you second guess yourself or a position or something?
No, not in a debate. And and I have to say, before I ever started doing, and I'm assuming you're talking about a live moderated stage debate. By the time I ever got to that stage, I had already heard every argument they have 1,000 times over. So there wasn't anything
Sure.
new
I
to
got you.
present.
I got you.
I mean, there was one guy who did a thing. He says we were debating whether Christianity is dangerous, and he redefined what dangerous means, and he redefined basically the entirety of the debate. He wasn't even arguing for Christianity. He was arguing for what he called implicit religiosity. I think it was something like that, where you hold a belief but you don't act on it, and even he said that would be fine, and he's right. It would be fine if the entire community believes the same thing, so there's no contest of belief, and nobody acts on that belief. But the moment they do, or the moment there's a conflict, then it becomes dangerous. And dangerous doesn't mean that it will hurt. It means that it can potentially hurt.
Sure.
So let's just change all the definitions, change everything in the format, so that we're not even debating the thing that we came to debate.
That's interesting. That's an interesting debate tactic, I guess.
Yeah.
Could be smart depending on what side you're on, right? How are you looking at that?
It was implicit. I don't know what word I said a moment ago, but it was implicit versus explicit religiosity, in which case implicit religiosity isn't even Christianity. It could be any religion. So it's every religion is in the same category. So how do we contrast Christianity with anything else? Well, now we have to act on it. Now we have to contrast it. Now we have to look at what Christianity believes versus what anybody else believes. And most religions are dangerous, but Christianity has a history of being excessively so. Yeah. It is the bloodiest religion in history.
Absolutely. There's no way to argue that. Even Christians say that, I think, at least the ones I know.
Well, some of them will. Yeah.
Yeah. The ones I know are not afraid to. Look, I want to make it very clear that, I don't choose my friends based on who they vote for or what God they believe in or don't believe in. That's just how I choose my friends. I've been through a lot the past 4 years. I'm sure a lot of people have. And I just hit a point where I just said, I really just don't care. Look, if you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. I'm in Texas. We're in Texas. Like, it's kind of the Texas way. Like Texas gets this fame, fama, we would say in Spanish, like in the world of just being a certain way, right? Just stereotypes or whatever. And even in America, right? People have stereotypes of Texas. But the truth is people here are very nice and genuine. And if you're nice to them, they're nice to you, regardless of what's going on. Now, if you start to get in deep on a conversation, okay, maybe there could be some differences, but just face to face, service to service, right? Like, it's good to go. I want to keep it that way, to be honest with you. I think we need more of that. I think we need more of being able to disagree and just get along, right? And just still go to dinner, still get drinks, still, see each other for Thanksgiving, still see each other for, the aunt's birthday party that we all need to go to. Like, okay, let's get back to life. We're always going to have differences. I don't know what we're expecting. All of a sudden, we're all just going to get along and get together. Even the idea that these people have, well, we need two Americas. Okay, well, then what? Then you're going to need those split up into two, right? And then two again, and then two. It just, what are we talking about? I mean, I just don't understand. We have to not try to all get along and agree on everything. I think that's the problem. We all trying to, no, agree with me, agree with what I said. Don't you see the point I'm making? Agree with me, instead of, you think that way, this is how I think. Let's get on. I mean, I don't know.
I've lost a couple of friends in the last few years, largely over politics.
Sure.
And the difficulty is when when I was told, for example, that you can't, but Trump didn't do anything wrong. He didn't break any law. So I showed these specific statutes, multiple statutes that he broke in this one instance that he was talking about. We're not even talking about all the shit he did.
Yeah.
We're only talking about in this one, on that day. These are the laws that he broke. right?
Totally.
And here are
totally.
the justifications. Here are the declarations written with a number of the statute is given a number. Here's the thing he did. And it was confirmed that he did that. But you don't get an admission. There's never, oh, okay, well, he broke that law, I guess. No. That just never happens because you become a sycophant.
Sure.
So this friend of mine is never going to admit the truth. Sorry, I got you dead to rights. You're just going to delete me, and I'm blocked now.
No, that's
and that's how our friendship ends.
That stinks. I mean, he can just say, "Look, I don't agree with you. Hey, you still want to get a beer on Thursday?"
But
and then have it out.
Yeah, there's a point. You may not agree with me, but we're talking about something that we can prove. It has already
I understand.
Proved.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm saying on his part, I wish he could say, even if he wouldn't, right, is not seeing the light, to still not want to throw you away as a friend. To me, he was never really a friend.
Yeah, if we're going to argue about religion, because religion and politics are similar, but there is an important difference. They're both irrational. They're both moral judgments. They're both, to a degree, controlling each other people.
Yeah.
But
sure.
One is entirely fantasy, and the other one is necessary. You can't have any size group of people coexist without politics.
Sure.
Something has to govern how people interact with each other. There has to be some kind of system of law. There has to be some agreement within that populace as to what they're going to do or will allow or whatever. There has to be something. You can get 10 people on an island somewhere. You're going to get politics out of it by necessity. You can't not do that. And certainly when you have billions of people, you're going to have a political situation where you have to analyze. You have to be inclusive of everybody that you're governing, right? That there has to be some agreement as to who's going to make the decisions. There has to be some understanding as to how who's going to get helped when they need help, and who's going to provide that help, and that sort of thing. You can't avoid this. This is something we have to do. If we want to be humanitarian, we have to have politics. Yeah. But the problem is that politics is also used to manipulate and to oppress and to deny and to criminalize people for things that are not crimes. Sure. Now, for me as an atheist, I would have to point out that atheism is a crime in some places, and that blasphemy here in the United States, blasphemy is not a crime. Blasphemy is a right. Yep. And I advocate for that. But but in other places it's different because the politics are different in other places. But you have to. You say you don't like politics. I don't think anybody likes politics. Not a healthy person.
Exactly. I agree.
I can be interested in it. I can be fascinated by it by the same reason that I can study serial killers. Doesn't mean I'm going to go kill somebody. It's just I just can't believe that Charles Manson manipulated the people in his family the way that he did. How the fuck does that work?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like that. It's totally necessary. I mean, absolutely. We need boring politics. All right, we need to get back to boring politics. Yes, we don't need this Marjorie Taylor Greens and people out here trying to be celebrities. That's what ruins politics. How many followers do I have on Twitter? It's like, you don't even represent the people you represent. Here's something I thought about politics recently. I'm curious your opinion. I'm tired of hearing politicians' opinions. That's all we ask of that. What's your opinion on this? What's your take on that? I don't give a fuck what your take is. What do your constituents say, and what are you doing for them? That's what you need to be doing, what they think. That's what we elected you for, not what your opinion is. Well, I'm not going to vote on this because I don't give a fuck what you think. I'm tired of hearing their opinions. Honestly, I'm just tired of hearing their opinions on shit. Like, they can give us their, right? Like,
representative.
Yes, a representative
democratic republic.
Correct. And that's all they do. Put them on the news and here's their opinion. Oh, what's your opinion on this? What do you think about that? Why are we asking? Who gives it? We've empowered them in a sense that my opinion matters, and people will vote against their constituents all the time. All the time they do that because they think they know the right, way to go. Oh, please. It's a handshake deal you made somewhere, something you're paying back.
I have to preface this, what I'm about to say, because people aren't going to understand it. I do not like Hillary Clinton. I never liked Hillary Clinton. So I have to vote Democrat because I'm not insane or evil.
Yeah, I vote Democrat too.
But I don't like Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, me neither.
That said, she said something that revealed one of the reasons that I don't like Hillary Clinton in a statement that made me respect her as a politician.
Interesting.
And that was her stance on, I think it was gay marriage, that she personally is against homosexuality, but she's a representative politician, which means she has to vote the way that her constitution. So she says she has the personal her, and then she has the public representative her. So she's going to vote for what the constituents want, not what she wants.
There you go.
And I'm like, well, this may be a rare exceptional case for her, but I like that exception. I like that she says, okay, well, I'm personally against it because I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do my fucking job.
Correct. Yes, I couldn't agree with that more. That's it. That's how it should be. I have this belief, but this is what my people are saying, because that's what you're there for. We didn't put you into place so you can just be your own little, let's do your opinions and shit. Like, it drives me nuts every time I turn on and just hear, well, I think. Oh, good God. I mean, I just don't even watch that shit anymore, like at all. It's funny. I can't say this publicly, but I know the Clinton family. And I can't say how or why publicly, but maybe sometime off the air, I'll tell you what I know. And it's not good, to be honest with you. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of just made me realize that they're all corrupt, dude. They're all just out there to hook everyone up around them. That's how it works. And it's family stuff that gets passed down. And I just like, if one side tries to tell me, no, we're the better people, no, you're not. But what I will do is vote for things that I want to see in place. And right now, the Democrats put up things that I want to see in place. So I vote Democrat.
Well, the Democrats are backing things that we want.
Yeah, they back things that I want to see.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, see, I have to be a Democrat when I ran for public office in Texas, I had to run as a Democrat because it wasn't possible to run as an independent. I have to vote as a Democrat because you don't even get in the primaries sometimes. In some states, for some elections, you can't even vote in the primaries if you're not in one of the two parties because it's set up to be a two-party system.
Oh, I didn't know that. What?
So you have to be registered Republican to vote in the Republican primary, for example, here in Texas. You can vote for an independent.
Stupid.
And you can vote in the Democratic Party, and you can still vote for an independent. But I don't remember what the stipulation was in Texas, because Texas does some things weird, and you can't always vote for an independent. You can't always run as an independent. You're not going to get any support if you're an independent. You've got to be the one side or the other because everybody thinks binary.
Sure.
Right. So
wow.
Yeah. So there's that. But I've had to vote Republican, and I knew that I didn't like George H.W. Bush already. And it wasn't just because he said that he didn't think that atheists were citizens because this is a America founded by God or whatever. It wasn't just because of that stupid thing that he said. There was a time when I liked Bill Clinton, when he was first running for office, and he's playing his saxophone and he's lying about whether he inhaled the marijuana. Yeah. I mean, there was a time when I liked him, but it didn't last. And although I have hated Republican presidents for being evil and corrupt and stupid, from Nixon and Reagan and H.W. Bush and W. Bush and certainly fucking Trump, Donald Dumbass, my least favorite president until Donald Dumbass was Bill Clinton.
Oh, wow.
I hated him.
Wow.
I hated him because he was an obvious, overt liar.
100%. Yes.
Yeah. And I just can't.
He's that charming Southern liar, right? He's got that charm that lies straight to you with a smile. And you know.
Yeah.
You know,
and it wasn't even the Monica
yeah.
Lewinsky thing. It was other things
Sure.
that came before that made me hate him.
Well, his whole run up to Arkansas, again, the things I know, I can't really, I just can't say them
The
publicly.
movie Wag the Dog
Yeah.
was not about a Republican president. It was about Bill Clinton.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I love that movie.
It was based on scandal things that were going on about Bill Clinton. So you have a sudden, you get allegations of misconduct, and suddenly you've got another eruption of another newsworthy item that happened in the Middle East again. It just coincidentally happens at that moment. That sort of thing. And then the thing that really, really set me off more than anything else was Rosa Parks. She's at some big event that Bill Clinton was doing, where there's a huge,
like you're talking the Rosa Parks.
The Rosa Parks, yes.
Okay.
So she's sitting there, and he gives her a shout out from the stage, and there's Secret Service all standing around her, and she's sitting there. She didn't stand up like everybody else. She's sitting there, and he said, "Oh, she can just sit right there; it'd be fine." But the Secret Service dragged her to her feet.
Jesus Christ!
They made her stand. They made her stand to show respect for Bill Clinton.
What in the fuck?
Yeah,
he's not a king, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
this is
crazy.
Rosa fucking Parks here.
That's Rosa Parks, absolutely. Yeah, and not only that, they probably had her sitting in the back of the place, right? Like, come on, y'all.
Well, no,
bring her up to the front.
I don't think she was in the back by any means.
Oh,
but the thing was, they made her stand.
Yes, that's horrible. Absolutely, that's disgusting. That's disgusting.
And I know it's all symbolism. But
absolutely,
it still was. I found it hugely irritating.
So, that's insulting.
Yes, and it was there was something about Bill Clinton that you can tell that he's fake. You can tell that he's lying. That he's certainly corrupt. And I hated him as a president. I'm somebody who votes Democrat. I had voted for Bill Clinton.
Sure.
And then realized shortly thereafter, I hate that man.
Yeah.
I would give him credit for what he did to the budget and so forth. I mean, because what you typically end up with is the Democrat comes in and the economy is already shot to shit, and then the Democrat takes over and he gets blamed for the economy already being shot to shit, and then it's better and better. And so when he leaves, the Republican comes in and claims credit for the economy being good again before they shoot it to shit.
Yeah.
So we see this cycle over and over again. Let's bring back Reaganomics, because look how much we fucked everything up last time we did that.
Trickle down. The rich people will take care of you. We just gotta why haven't they done it so far? What does that mean? I don't. It's just such a weird mental gymnastics. People try to get you to vote for certain things, right? This will happen if you do that. It's like, okay. What do you think about Trump?
It's not that I think Democrats are good guys.
Sure.
Republicans aren't necessarily bad guys. I told my mother that the Republican Party that you're voting for now is not the party that it was when I was born.
Yeah, 100%.
They're completely opposite. They've changed their positions on so many things. If I was already a voting adult in the year that I was born, I would have been a proud Republican then.
Sure.
But shit has changed.
Dramatically changed.
Yeah, and like Ted Cruz said that the Democrats are the party of the KKK. The year I was born, that was true. 1962, that was a true statement. But every Klansman is a Republican now.
Of course. What are we talking about? Absolutely. That exactly. If you're the think about that. If you're a white supremacist or KKK, you're probably voting Republican. That should tell you something. Yeah, probably. Yes, you are more than likely voting Republican. Yeah, exactly. That should tell you something. There's something odd about that. What do you think about Trump announcing his presidency yesterday, and like DeSantis and that whole thing? Like, do you see that being an issue for him, or?
The only issue that I have is, why hasn't the DOJ indicted him yet?
Absolutely.
What the fuck?
Absolutely.
What are you doing?
They say it's coming any day now. They say it's coming. I agree. You're right.
It's not,
not for him.
It was time. Time was to indict
years ago. Yes, I agree. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I really don't.
If it hasn't happened already,
I think he's above the law.
Are we just going to let that slide?
Yeah, they are. They're going to let it slide. All the shit they showed on
he tried to establish himself as a dictator. People died.
Yes. The
absolutely. Fuck are you doing?
Yep. Documents. I mean, we could go down the line of all the things that he's done. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening. He truly is above the law. I hate to say that, but he truly is above the law. Now, I don't think he's going to win the presidency. I'm not even sure he'll win the nomination for the Republican primary.
No, I don't think he's going to do either one. No.
Which
but for whatever reason, he hasn't been indicted yet. And that irritates the fuck out of me.
No, me too. Again, they keep saying it's going to happen. I just read an article yesterday about the January 6th committee going to put some pressure because he hasn't responded at all to the subpoena, or his lawyers haven't responded either. So they haven't tried to work anything out or anything.
He just doesn't have to go.
Yeah, I guess. No, he's supposed to. By law, he has to show up.
But he's Donald Trump. He doesn't have to.
Exactly. So he's just he just ignores it. He literally just ignores it. He doesn't say, yeah, it's crazy. He just does this all the time. He just ignores it. He just does act like they didn't send me nothing. I mean, just like he took the documents. Those are my documents. I took them. Like, what do you mean? I mean, he just blatantly does the things out in the open and people can't believe it, right? Like, that's what's been so crazy about Donald Trump. And he's done that since the beginning.
You can't prosecute him if he confessed to the crime
while doing it. Yeah,
like it wasn't a crime.
Yes, that's the problem.
If he was bragging about what he did because he thought it was a great strategy.
Yep. He's it's like when Hillary Clinton told him in the debates, well, you cheat on your taxes or something. He said, yeah, I'm smart. He just has the perfect response. I hate to give it to him, but he just sometimes has the perfect responses to the perfect asshole response. Like, if you were just destined to be a complete asshole and go against everything, then that's who you need to be. Then he just said, well, I'll do that. Forget being a good person or like any sort of moral, forget it. I'll do it. I'll do what it takes to be everyone's leader, this cult leader. I'll do that. Yeah, it's insane. But I do see it waning big time. All of his supporters on the right are almost instantly going against him now, instantly after the midterms, and saying things like, well, he's just crude and saying all the things that we've been saying for 6 years. Like, you just now noticed that? Like, he's not loyal. He talked bad about me. He did that. Dude, why is he name calling? That literally Candace Owens said that.
Why did Mike Pence not speak out against Trump?
That's a good question. Fear of his
couple
people?
Of days ago.
Yeah.
And do you support Trump as a president? And he's like, well, that's going to be up to the American people. Now, we asked you. The man threatened to kill you and your family. And you're gonna.
What did he? I didn't see that interview.
Pussy.
What did he say to that?
He's a complete pussy.
Yeah, he really is.
I mean,
he really is.
Yeah,
he's like Ted Cruz, right? When Trump was attacking Ted Cruz, and he was just like, oh, just fucking, you goddamn Ted Cruz, supposed to be a Texan, motherfucker. He just made fun of your wife, your mother. He said your dad shot JFK. Like, say something. Yes.
Yeah, Ted Cruz is not a Texan. Ted Cruz is Canadian.
Yes. I actually didn't know that. I didn't know he was from Canada. I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, he was born in the U.S., I think, but he spent his youth in Canada. There's nothing Texan about Ted Cruz.
Oh, I couldn't agree with that more. He's just a representative here. That's it.
And I've never heard a good thing about him, and I've heard the name Ted Cruz coming up for decades about how he stops the function of the government because he wants to impose some religious legislation or some such thing. He's just an impediment to progress, and that's it.
I agree. Just look at what happened during the snowpocalypse. Should tell you everything you need to know about fucking Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Cancun cruise. So, well, listen, Aron, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, man. What you said you have that debate coming up. Anything you want to let people know about that you have coming up that you want them to check out?
Yeah, well, I do activism full time. This has been my gig since like 2014. This has been my full time thing. So I do need all the support I can get. I'm not a rich man, and it is a struggle to keep going. So
Of course.
Please take a look at my patreon.com/ARONRA. And I could use a bunch more donors.
Awesome. Well, there you go. You heard it, folks. Let's get on there. Let's get on this Patreon. Absolutely, man. Of course. And your YouTube channel, of course. I still watch a lot of your stuff, man, on Facebook and on YouTube and that shit. Yeah, for sure. I still check out a lot of the stuff you do. So, no, that's awesome. Great. Well, good luck on this debate you have coming up. I'm hopefully you're able to get some ideas going for this. And your snake collection, I saw, man. I know I actually wanted to come and film at it because I'm here locally, here in Dallas too. And I just know your fans have been recently loving all the stuff. And I've been seeing all the stuff you've been getting into with snakes and stuff, which I personally am not. I wouldn't say I'm not a fan of snakes. I'm terrified of something of the unknown, right? I've never been around them, so I'm terrified of that.
Well, it's really my wife's hobby. But
really?
I've often had snakes myself, and I've had reptiles. I've had lizards and such, and so she's had a few lizards, and now she's moving on to snakes. And I'm supportive of her hobby. So it's not really my.
Oh, I thought it was your thing going on. Oh, okay.
It's more about her thing. She's getting the snakes and all that, but
you don't mind them.
I like them. She's bought me 3 or 4 of them. So
and you put them around you. You let them crawl on you. No problem.
The one my most recent acquisition, and the only pricey snake that I have. I mean, this one is a beauty. It's a false water cobra. He's
cobra,
a little bit over 6 feet long, and when I bought him, he's a stout boy too. And when I bought him, he's just very, very calm, and it takes him a couple of weeks to adapt when they move into a new place. The new digs and new smells and everything. It takes them at least a couple of weeks to get settled. If they're adults, like he is. So I haven't handled him since I got him here, but he is mildly venomous. He does have fangs. They're rear fangs, but they're fangs nonetheless. And he's a big snake, so I don't want to get bit. And more important than that, he's never bitten anyone, and I don't want to be the first person
sure
to get bit by a snake that's never bitten anybody in 3 years.
Yes.
So I want to give him the time, the full 2 weeks before we get back into the handling thing. And very often snakes are defensive when you take them out of their enclosure. They're defensive of their enclosure once they've adopted it as theirs. So there's always
makes sense.
Yeah. So when you go to pick the snake up, it can be a little awkward, but then once they have them up in your hands, then the mood completely changes, and they can be very, very friendly. And we have a couple of snakes that have gotten to the point where they're asking to come out. They're crawling up the glass. They open the door, let me out.
Oh,
and
interesting.
They are curious. They like to go exploring. He's very curious, and I like him a lot. So I can't. I will once we get him adapted to the new digs and everything. We'll do the hand taming thing a little bit better and get him back on a proper feeding schedule, because they won't usually eat when they move into a new place right away either. So I mean, it very often takes a little while before they'll even take food. But once we get him set up, you're going to see him on my videos, I'm sure, because he's amazing.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah, I had him around my neck and carrying him around. We went to a brewery, and it was a nice warm day. We have him out on the table and everything with just the whole family and this giant snake in the middle of the table. And it was real nice.
Wow. Yeah. Oh man. Holy cow. I saw this video online of this woman.
And he's a believable cobra, by the way.
What does that mean? Believable. What does that mean?
Oh, he looks like a cobra. People thought.
Oh, okay. I got you.
People thought he was a cobra when they first saw him, but then I saw him hood up, and I got a picture of it because I don't expect to see that kind of behavior in him, because they hood up the same way when they're doing their threat display.
When you say hood up, you mean
he does a cobra hood. He rises up, he looks like a cobra.
Wow, fucking
so it's very believable.
Oh man, holy shit!
If you didn't know that false water cobras exist and you saw him do that, you back the fuck away.
I need a move like that in real life, where I do something that just makes people back up, Oh,
I'm
shit.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm
You're
sorry.
Right. Let me excuse myself.
Oh man, where'd you learn that, my snake? No, that's just crazy. Yeah, I saw this video online of this woman pulling the snake out of the enclosure, like you were saying, right? And it's coming up the glass, kind of when you said, oh, it's coming up the glass, like it wants to come out. So I think that's what she was thinking. And she has this stick, right, that I guess she uses, and it comes up on her hand, and then she's like, oh, hey, what's going on? And I could tell immediately she was nervous, like, this isn't good. He's making an aggressive, and dude, it latched right onto her hand immediately and just swung around her body. And then this other guy came in. They just spent the whole time trying to get that unlocked. And he kept trying to like bring her shoulder in, and she couldn't breathe. It was closing off like blood circulation in the air like this. I was like, oh my God, that snake is insane. But and she said afterwards, like, not good. That's what you got to deal with.
Yeah, nervous is not good, because the snakes can read your emotions better than you think. It's like those movies where where somebody can touch you. When they physically touch you, they know what you're thinking, right? Well, the snakes are very good at their community. They're very sensitive to vibration and so forth. And so if you're nervous,
they can
tell. If you're scared, if you're angry. I had a snake strike at me because I was trying to pick it up, and my dog, just when he hears a noise outside, he's got to go full on. It can't just be it's another noise like we hear every other day. No, it's got to be the Russians are invading, right? It's got to be the ultimate. It's got to we're going to DEF CON. It has to be, and I'm so irritated at hearing this 5 times a day. It's the fucking mailman. Figure it out. Stop it. Right. So I yelled at the dog, and the snake freaked out, because I'm picking up the snake at the moment that I yelled at the dog. Shouldn't have. That was something I shouldn't have done. But I'm not even yelling at the snake. I'm yelling at the dog.
Yeah.
And the snake is catching it most from my what the vibrations that he's feeling through me, because they don't hear the way we do. They don't have external ears. They don't even have the middle ear. They hear more through their jaw. So it's all vibrations. It's all the low frequency stuff.
Wow.
So he can tell when you're angry, and so now the snake thinks I'm angry at him. So you have to be careful when you're handling these things. Remember that they can read your emotion a little bit better than we give some animals credit for.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what would frighten me too. I remember my nephew had a birthday party like a year ago at this aquarium thing, and they put a snake on him, and took the picture and all that stuff. And they were like, you want to do it too? I was like, hell no. I mean, I was like shaking. I thought that's going to make the animal nervous, and he'll bite it, like it'll be my fault. I know that. So I don't want to get in there. I wish I had the strength, man, to do that, because they are beautiful animals, but I don't know if I could ever get myself over that. I really
were
don't.
At a conference, and there was some snake handlers, or the people that had big snakes. One of the snakes that they had a red-tailed boa, and they had an anaconda.
Oh my God.
They brought the anaconda. And there's this girl, she weighs all of $1. That's like it, right? This itty bitty 100-pound woman, and she's got this huge fucking anaconda on her. And the snake, it's supported on her shoulders, her tiny little narrow shoulders, but then one side of the snake starts to fall. And so I lean in to catch the snake from falling, but it's a quick move because I have to catch the snake before he falls. But the snakes are sensitive to movement, so you move quick. And the snake saw me as an attacker.
Oh,
the next thing I know,
God.
I've got tooth holes from an anaconda in my arm.
What in the
Which
fuck?
I proudly showed off to everybody, because how often you get to brag that you were bitten by an anaconda.
Holy shit. Jesus Christ. Are you kidding me? That is insane. I just can't even imagine. I honestly,
It is just
I can't
because,
even.
as I said, I moved too fast. I
Yeah.
didn't want the snake to get hurt, but I guess the snake figured out also that it wasn't an attack. He'd already bitten me, but then realized it's not an attack and let's go. And we're all good again. And I could just, lift the snake back onto her shoulders. It's dealing with, I don't have, apart from my false water cobra, I don't have anything that's venomous at all. Well, bearded dragons and green iguanas and varanids are now classified as venomous where they didn't used to be, but they're mildly venomous. Garter snakes are now classified as venomous.
Oh, wow.
Mildly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
this isn't a mild venom thing. The only issue really with him is that there are fangs involved.
Absolutely.
Not big, impressive rattlesnake fangs, not like that, but still, I'm not interested in having holes punched in me.
I think I would have passed out.
I especially
instantly.
don't want an animal that has never bitten anybody to bite somebody.
Of course. Absolutely. Yeah. It gets the
so
taste of blood now.
It's going to be a little bit of time in the new digs to get him to where he's as comfortable as he was when I bought him.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that, those videos of that from a distance. No, that's cool, man. What a cool, I always respect people that can do those sorts of things. I just don't have that.
If you're interested in snakes, we do also have a breeding pair, although it's going to be a couple of years before they can start producing. We do have a breeding pair of, I have a breeding pair of Russian rat snakes. And the Russian rat snakes get 6 to 8 feet long, about the same size as a bull snake, which I also have. But the Russian rats are considered the golden retriever of pet snakes. And the funny thing is, when we go to all of these reptile conventions, nobody has a Russian rat snake. They're beautiful. They're really pretty snakes. I mean, they're blue-black with like bright yellow lightning bolts. Well, in our case, ours are high yellow, so there's a special morph. They have the bright yellow lightning bolts. Usually they're dull yellow lightning bolts. But
that's cool.
They tend to be, even in the wild, they tend to be pretty friendly. They're pretty easy to handle, and they're not remotely dangerous at all. They could bite the hell out of you, and you wouldn't even feel it. So,
that's crazy. My
so
dogs. I don't know how
tentative about snakes. So this would be a really good one to start with.
Oh no, I would never have a snake in my house. I couldn't do that. I there's no way. Absolutely not. There's just no way. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I'd be getting up, checking, make sure it didn't get out all the time. I would be constantly concerned about that. Did it get out? It'd be fortified beyond belief. It wouldn't live a good life. Probably, I would be the worst owner. I wouldn't pull it out very much. Right? Like, you don't want a guy like me. You want someone like you that, like, yeah, let's go, let's play, let's get out. If you bite me, no problem. Not me. Yeah. Plus, I got two dogs. Well, you have dogs, so that's interesting. I got two dogs. They're like yours. Like, they just bark.
Yeah. Cats you can't trust. Because cats will just wait till the moment that you're not looking. They'll pretend that they're not interested in whatever that is. And then the moment that they know that you're not looking, they'll attack it.
Fucking cats, man.
Yeah.
Fucking cats. Fucking God.
Yeah, but my dogs are I think my dogs understand pretty well that the things that I'm holding, that I'm loving, and that I'm showing that this thing is a precious thing to me. The dog is not going to do anything to that animal.
Sure. Yeah, my dogs have been around a couple snakes. Well, I had a pond in Austin, and snakes would come. They knew to stay away. They kind of bark from a distance and just never really went after it, which was interesting because they kill everything else that came in the yard. But the snake was like, nope, not gonna fuck with that thing. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's fascinating.
I mentioned that the false water cobra plays a convincing cobra.
Yes.
My bull snake is kind of a false rattlesnake in the same way. The bull snake looks very much it really looks like a rattlesnake.
Wow.
And when you go into, if he's not in a good mood, his threat display is to rattle his tail.
Oh,
and he'll rattle it against leaves or against the side of the glass or whatever. They do the tail shaking thing, and he coils up. He goes into the rattlesnake strike. But he looks like a rattlesnake.
Oh my God, that would just scare the living shit out of me. I don't know, man. That just like that. Yes, I just thinking about it. Just thinking about it right now. I'm not even anywhere near a snake, and I feel something in my body right now. Like, oh gosh, yes. But they're beautiful. When I go to the zoo or something, and I see the snakes. I mean, they're just gorgeous. These big They're just beautiful.
We have some pretty ones.
They
Those
are
real
beautiful. They really are just beautiful. Are they considered animals?
Well, yeah. An animal is any multicellular eukaryote with an internal digestive tract.
Okay, yeah, that's the definition I was going to use too. No, I'm kidding. You're so smart, Art. I'm the idiot over here. I'm like, are those animals? Listen to me asking these questions. Are we alive? Like, oh my God. I apologize. Listen, I don't have to be smart. The people I bring on are smart.
I talked
okay?
to a science teacher, a middle school science teacher, who told me she thought that snakes were invertebrates, that they didn't have backbones.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was an amusing conversation. And another
I could
one,
see maybe where you thought that.
Yeah.
see how one dumb person relates to another dumb person. We're like, I could see that. I could understand that.
And I'm like, funny. Man, they're almost all backbone.
Yeah, literally, it's all backbone. They could literally be called backbone. They're the backbone of the animal kingdom, is literally what we say. No, that's funny. That's funny. Yes, look, how many times have you, well, I don't know, for me, that this does happen every once in a while where you learn something at your age, right? Where you're like, why have I not known that my whole life? Like, how did I just learn that right now? I feel like that happens to me a lot, and I don't know what it is. It's just one of those things, life. Well, good, man. Again, thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad we got it figured out with the time. I am going to look into StreamYard. Actually, we talked about it. So FYI, I don't know. We just always use Zoom. I don't know. Just been stuck in the process of it, to be honest. But we've had issues. So we have wanted to look at something else, and I have looked at StreamYard. So thanks again, man, for coming on. This was just awesome as always. I super enjoy our conversations.
Talk to Jimmy Snow. I suggested StreamYard. He suggests other things because he uses OBS, and so he routes through a different way. But I don't remember what program he uses.
He uses OBS too. Yeah, I mean, we don't do it live, right? It's all to be put up later. Like we edit it and put it up later. So really, I just need whatever's best for that. I don't need to stream, quote unquote, anything, just need to make sure I get this right, which actually, this was great. This looks great. I actually started using the new iPhone webcam. So what you're seeing is from my iPhone. I don't know how good it looks to you, but like when we see it on the final thing, it looks great.
You've got a very good quality picture. And likewise, I bought my phone specifically for the camera.
Yeah.
Because
that's why I got it too.
I knew I was going on Safari. I needed a good camera.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, Safari, of course. Yeah, absolutely. No, for sure. Well, awesome, man. Look, again, thank you so much for coming on. This was great as always. And check out Aron on Patreon. You already said that. We'll put links in the description, all that, your YouTube, and of course, all that. And your social media, right? You're on Facebook the most, right? Not on Instagram or TikTok or...
I never liked Twitter. I tweet sometimes, but hardly ever. I mean, I generally use Facebook.
Right on. Well, Elon,
for necessity, I have to use it to do networking.
Sure, of course. Well, now that Elon owns Twitter, maybe you'll come back. I don't know. Well, I'm not on there, so I don't know. I don't really care for it. It did nothing for me. Oh, Elon bought it. Okay, great. I haven't used it
before Elon bought it. It was already bad.
Yeah, it was already bad. Like, what are we talking about here? Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. That's awesome. Awesome, man. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. This was amazing. If you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out. Very close. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Good night.
Thanks, brother.
You've been listening to the Lone Star Plate podcast with your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong. For more info, go to lonestarplate.show.